Allah says in Surah Mulk, ayah number 19, that do they not see the birds above them, spreading and closing their wings? It is only the Lord of mercy, Ar-Rahman, who holds them up, and He is ever watchful over everything. The central crux of this ayah revolves around two things. One is something that already Allah has talked about in this surah, is the perfection of Allah's creation. So the bird, the sky, Allah talks about that in ayah number 3 and 4, mentioning that if you want to find fault in the perfection of Allah's creation, you can keep looking, you can look again and look again, but every time your sight is going to just come back to you tired and exhausted. This ayah is almost a follow-up of that ayah, where Allah says, why don't you just go out and look at a bird and see how it's flying? The first implication in that ayah is you're not going to find any fault. You're not going to find any fault. It's perfect. And the numerous examples of Allah's perfection, the creation, in fact, all animals, you look at the systems, the ecosystems, the habitats, the feeding habits, the reproduction, it's so synchronized. And not only is it synchronized within the species itself, within that group of animal itself, but they're coherent and in sync with all the other animals that they share that habitat with, that ecosystem with. And then all of those ecosystems are in sync, in cohabitation with the surrounding ecosystems, and so on and so forth, until it becomes a global thing. For people who studied environmental science and people who studied biology and ecology, get to appreciate this on a whole new level, where they really understand the depths of the perfection of nature, and how one thing fits into another, and one thing not only gives to another but takes from another, and then there's this mutual understanding within species, between species, within ecosystems, and between ecosystems. The perfection, Allah pointing out the nature by which the bird makes those flapping movements. One of the implications there is that the system that Allah created, yes, to fly, it's not going to just fly without doing anything. It has to flap its wings. And so again, there's the implication of the reality in this world has certain logic behind it. Without that logic, the reality doesn't really work. But then that reality itself and the logic itself was created by none other than Allah. And if He were to will, then the bird would not be able to subjugate the air. The bird would not be able to fly in the air, no matter how much it flaps its wings. So think about the penguin, which is also a bird, right? Think about the ostrich, which is also a bird. Think about chickens, who can kind of, attempt to fly, but they can't really fly. All of these birds also have wings, and they also flap their wings, but they can't fly, right? And so the command of Allah, the design by Allah needs to be there for that animal to be able to do a certain act, and that is implicated in this ayah. The second implication in the ayah is that the call to humanity, the call to Allah's creations, human beings, to go out and see, look at Allah's creations, to ponder over them, to go out and study them and see how this beautiful system that Allah created. I mean, Allah created all of this for nothing, just so that you can sit in your home, watch your TV, and let nature do its job. No, these wonders, these amazing things within nature is there for you to go out, for you to see and ponder. And so, by all means, go on a hike. By all means, go fishing. By all means, go on holiday to a beautiful location where you can see the forests and the animals and the sea and the rivers and the mountains and the combination of all of these coming together to create this perfect harmony that is the world, and kind of ponder over how did Allah synchronize all of this. This is amazing. The third implication in this ayah is that because Allah says, "Do they not see?" Do they not see? When Allah says "they" in the Quran, Allah is talking about the disbelievers, the non-believers, people who are ungrateful and don't believe in the creation of Allah and don't believe in the bigness of Allah. So when Allah says, "Do they not see?" the implication there is the signs for belief. Yes, you don't see Allah. Yes, you don't see His angels. Yes, you don't see, like the Quraysh asked for, like Bani Israel asked for. Why doesn't Allah send an angel from the sky with the revelation? Why did He have to send a man? Why did He send you? Why doesn't He just send food from the sky so that we can eat and believe? Or why doesn't the revelation just fall as pages from the sky so that we know that it's from a divine source? Then, to counteract that, Allah says, you know what? The signs that you need, the miracles that you need to see are all around you. All you need to do is step out of your house and look up at the sky. First of all, look at the sky itself. You won't see any imperfection. There's no break. There's 7 layers of skies. And all you can see is one. And even that's been decorated for us to see and navigate. And Allah also says that I use those lamps to punish the devils that come in to try and get Mulk. But also, go out into the world and see the birds, see the animals, see the grass that grows, every spring out of nowhere. Where are these animals and plants getting their sustenance from? It is none but Allah that provides for them. And by extension, Allah talks about a bird. And I think one of my interpretations of this, the reason that Allah mentions a bird and maybe not a monkey or, a tiger, is because birds are everywhere. Like you go out, you're bound to see a sparrow, at least, if nothing else, or a crow or a pigeon or something, of that nature that can fly. So because they're all around, Allah's not asking you to go explore the world or, go to the Sundarbans or the Amazon rainforest and actually see amazing creatures, which there are, right? You go to Madagascar, animals that exist nowhere else on earth. And the adaptations that these animals have had to this unique environment in Madagascar. But you don't even have to go that far. Like open your door or sit next to your window and just look up at the sky, or just look out onto your backyard or onto the road in front of your house. You'll see a bird, and you'll see that it flies. And your job then is to ponder, how did Allah do this? Like, what is keeping this bird up in the air? And the amazing control that Allah has over all His creations. Then we learn, you ponder deeper into the ayah, you learn about the gentleness that Allah has with His creation. This small, tiny bird. You think of a sparrow, you think of a hummingbird, tiny creature. You'd almost mistake it for a wasp or a bee. This tiny creature being held up in the air, being allowed to fly, being allowed to earn its sustenance, gain its sustenance, flying out of its house in the morning and coming back at night. The gentleness that Allah has with His creatures, with His creations, and how He continues to provide every single day, non-stop, endlessly, for all of His creations, not just the animals, the plants, the human beings, and who knows how many other creations He has that we don't even know about. Allah is providing sustenance for all of them. And that's right at the end of the ayah. Allah says, I watch over everything. I have full control over everything. And so who needs what, when, how much? Allah knows and Allah provides. That's His power. Um, and so the survival and well-being of these animals is all in Allah's control. Same way that our survival and our well-being in this world and in the world after is all in Allah's control. But then the flip side of that is when Allah says that I provide sustenance and I am gentle with my creatures and I provide for them. Right after this ayah, actually, sorry, right before this ayah, Allah was talking about, hey, do you really feel secure that Allah is not going to open up the heavens and send down a storm of stones? Or do you really feel secure that the earth is not going to open up and swallow you? If the full control over all His creations and their sustenance and their well-being and everything else that they need to be what they are is in the hands of Allah, then Allah can do this as well. Allah can do this as well. Just like the bird is able to flap its wings and subjugate the air, had Allah said no, the bird wouldn't have been able to do that. And so for that animal to survive, just to be able to earn its risk, it would have been close to impossible. So the fact that the earth is stable, the fact that the air supports the bird, the fact that you can walk on the earth, the fact that you can go out into the earth and the sky doesn't rain stones, or the earth doesn't just open up and swallow you, is all a mercy of Allah. It's all Allah in control, because Allah said before this, a few ayah ago, that I subjugated the earth for you. I've tamed it for you so that it isn't hostile. Think of planets like Venus. Think of planets like Mars. Would we be able to survive there? One is really, really hot. Like, you would survive less than 5 seconds if you stepped out of any protective layer you had. And one is just barren. Like, even it's cold mostly, but it's also barren. There's nothing there to provide sustenance. The earth is in the perfect position in the solar system, not too far and not too close to the sun, that it's neither extremely hot nor is it extremely cold. It is just the right temperature for life to bloom. Like, that thought alone should blow our minds. And when people say there is no God, there is no creator, the earth just came into being, there was a big bang, and all of this, the perfection, the intricacies of nature itself and of the earth itself just came into being. It was all just, one big bang, and it was randomly just, it created itself, or life found its own way. Yeah, that makes sense, And so that warning should ring in your mind. If Allah is the one keeping the bird aloft in the air, then Allah can also drop that bird dead on the ground, and it's that easy for Him. But the mercy of Allah, and that's why He uses His name Ar-Rahman in that ayah, in ayah number 19, that He continues. And Ar-Rahman, there's 3 meanings of Ar-Rahman. One is the extreme merciful, the utmost merciful. Number 2 is it's happening right now. It's happening right now. It's, whether you understand it or not, whether you know it or not, you have Allah's mercy surrounding you. And number 3 is that it can be withdrawn. It can be withdrawn. Yes, it's continuous. Yes, it keeps providing for you, but Allah can withdraw it at any moment, and that depends on whatever Allah thinks is right. But then Allah says, to kind of follow up on this, if Allah is keeping the bird in the air, Allah is also providing its sustenance. In ayah number 21, Allah says, do you think, like, who could provide for you if Allah withheld your provision? And the answer to that is just, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Nobody. The earth didn't just spring into being. It's not random. It was created by Allah, and the same Allah is the Allah that's providing for you. If suddenly Allah decides, I'm not going to give provision to you anymore, then there's nobody that can provide that for you. And then Allah continues kind of to summarize all of that. To summarize all of the things that Allah is saying in Surah Mulk here. Allah says, then the one who walks on his face, the one who's walking on his face, are they the same or the same guided as the one who's walking upright on the right path? And the delusions that human beings have, like just the other day online I was reading about this ayah. Actually, I was researching on this ayah. This person coming in and saying, dude, what, you guys are so delusioned. The Quran doesn't even justify what it's saying. And Allah says, or the Muslims say that it's Allah, the Ar-Rahman, that's keeping the bird in the air. Do you know what science is? It's aerodynamics. It's the wing structure of the bird, and there's this whole definition of how the bird flies. Of course, like I said, there's logic behind. But then when you delusion yourself to the point where you coming to the Quran, the ayah of Allah, Allah says, I can misguide you. If you're coming to my Quran with the wrong intentions, then I can misguide you. Beware. I will misguide you most likely. But if you're coming to the Quran with the right intentions, then I can guide you to the truth, and you will find things in the Quran that you never imagined. The ayah on the surface, if you're reading the translation, then it's a little befuddling. It's a little confusing for you to actually figure out what Allah is saying. But then you dig deep into the words, which I'm unable to do in this short video here. But you dig deep into the words of this ayah, and you really start to appreciate how Allah connects one idea to the next idea to the next idea, one statement to the next statement to the next statement, and then you connect that with, you relate that to science, you relate that to reality, and you get it. You just get it. But then there's the tadabbur that you do, the interpretations that you come up with, the understanding as you keep pondering and you keep pondering over the ayah. All of a sudden, while you're studying the ayah, you'll come up with one interpretation. But then as you're driving 10 days later, suddenly this other interpretation will come in your mind. You know what? Maybe that's what Allah said. Maybe that's what Allah said. Like just today I was driving back home, and why does Allah mention a bird? Why not anything else? And then maybe, and that's a question I've been thinking about for a few days, and it just struck me. You see a bird everywhere, so you don't have to travel very far. You don't have to really dig deep into the earth to be able to see Allah's signs, to be able to prove that Allah is the one true Lord. His signs are everywhere. His signs are, you look out the window, there are signs. You look within yourself, there are signs. You look in the mirror, there are signs. That's the fundamental crux of the idea of do they not see? How can you not see? It's everywhere. And so just on a side note here, like tadabbur, the idea of tadabbur, the interpretations that the reflections that you do from an ayah, as long as they're not going against the basic principle meaning of the ayah, and you're deriving beneficial interpretations, then that's okay. That's okay. There is nothing wrong with you coming up with an interpretation that may be different from what others have said, or maybe a little, like it's a little different angle than what others have said. But that doesn't mean that your interpretation is wrong. And Allah wants you to come to His ayah. Allah doesn't want you to sit down and wait for the scholar to figure it out for you so that you can listen to a lecture and say, oh, that's what Allah said. Well, no, you have to come to the ayah as well, and you have to study the ayah as well, and then Allah will give you the interpretations that relate to you, because that's one of the miracles of the Quran. The ayah that you read will relate to you, your situation, your circumstances directly, and then that's it for each individual person that comes to the Quran. That's the miracle of these words in Allah's book. It's just amazing things that Allah has put it down. So just coming back to people walking on their face and people walking upright, it's the fundamental idea that I think is being portrayed here is out of the many things that is actually being portrayed. One of the fundamental things is that if you're walking on your face, then 3 out of your 5 senses are no longer working. 3 out of your 5 senses, you're walking on your face, which is not scientifically possible. But let's say someone was, and that's the amazing parable that Allah puts in his book. Someone walking on their face, 3 of their 5 senses are no longer walking, and most importantly, they can't see. They can't see, right? And they're tasting. Their soil is going to go in their mouth, and their dust is going to go in their nose. And if you know anything of biology, your balance system in your body, what helps you to balance when you walk is a fluid in your ears. And so when you're upside down, the fluid is also upside down. So you're no longer really in control of balance. It takes years and years of practice to be able to balance yourself, to stand on your hands. And even then, it's not easy. You can't maintain it for long. So the idea there is that someone walking on their face, this person is not even going to be able to see where they're going. They won't have balance. They won't have the bearings that they need to be a normal human being. So when they're digging their head in the ground and they're walking on their face, they're refusing to see the signs of Allah. Then even if that sign were to come and dance in front of them, they wouldn't be able to see it. They wouldn't be able to see it because their face is dug in the ground. That's what they're doing. They're walking on their... So if they think that walking on my face and not seeing anything, not really hearing anything, not sensing anything else is the right thing to do, which it's the parable that Allah gives to the disbelievers. That's what the disbelievers are doing. Everything is there for them to see. The proof, the guidance that they need is right there in front of them, but they don't see it because they're walking on their faces. And they can never be the same. They can never be the same as the person, the human being who's walking upright on the straight path. Now that person is doing what they're meant to do, doing it the way that they're meant to be doing it. They're walking on their feet. They're walking on their legs. Their eyes are working. Their ears are working. All of their senses are working. And they're walking on a straight path. And it's not very hard to see Allah's signs, to see that this straight road leads me to the truth. It's not really hard. But then you have to actually attempt to do that. And to attempt to do that, Allah gives you the solution, the real life, solution that we can start today. And that solution is start pondering over my creations. Start thinking about how the bird flies. Go out and see the world. Go out and, go fishing. Go see a fish. Go see a bird. Go see a monkey if you want to. Go see Allah's plants. Grow some plants in your house, for God's sake. And you can see the miracles that Allah has created all around you, right there in front of your eyes. And guidance, that's how guidance comes. I'm going to end this video with just one extreme example, I would say, of the amazing creatures that Allah has created. The bar-tailed godwit is a bird that lives in Alaska and northern Canada. During the winter, because it gets really, really cold here, unbearably cold, the food source for these birds, because these are mainly, they live in aquatic ecosystems, these all freeze up, the lakes and the ponds and the rivers and everything. So this bird then migrates. He doesn't just migrate to Mexico. This bird migrates from Alaska and northern Canada all the way to New Zealand. That is a 7,000 miles, 1,100 kilometers, 11,000 kilometers without stopping. It is one continuous flight. And that flight, this amazing feat that this bird does, takes anywhere between 8 to 9 days to start from Canada or Alaska all the way to New Zealand. And this bird doesn't stop for 8 to 9 days, more than a week. Where does it get its food? Where is it getting its sustenance? How is it sleeping? How is it even navigating in the dark? Over a vast, vast ocean, the Pacific Ocean. Even Human beings rarely dare to go into that ocean without reason, without good reason. And this bird, on a yearly basis, will migrate to New Zealand and then back from New Zealand. This amazing, amazing feat. And just an example like that really makes you ponder that if Ar-Rahman isn't looking after his creations, then there's no way that his creations are doing things like this. There's just no way. There's no way. Just an extreme example of, another example is a hummingbird. You see this bird can not only fly forward, it can fly backwards, it can fly sideways, it can fly in 6 different directions. This little bird. The flight of the bird is just the flight of birds is something for us to ponder about. It's like, how are they doing this? Who designed each of these specific species to their specific needs so that they could earn their sustenance and in return give back to the world and its ecosystems. So just to leave you with the thought to kind of keep pondering over after this video is done, is if Allah can do, so there's another flip side. So there's one, Allah is providing. The 2 is, what if Allah doesn't provide? But then there's a number 3. And the 3 is, if Allah can do all this, if Allah can feed the bird that flies for 8-9 days continuously without stopping and allow it to rest, and be able to finish this amazing journey, if Allah can feed the whale that came to Sulaiman alayhi salam's dinner, and the whale said, where's the rest of my food? It ate all the food that was meant for all the animals on earth. It said, where's the rest of my food? Allah gives me more than this 3 times a day. Where's the rest of my food? And the Prophet alayhi salam was just thundered, like, how is that even possible? So if that Allah is taking care of his creations, then what are you and me scared of? What are you and me thinking that Allah is not going to take care of me in a situation, in a bad situation? It's when something's gone wrong in my life and I don't understand. When Allah says, face the truth with the truth, what am I scared of? What am I scared of? We need to really start thinking, doing that level of tadabbur, so that degree of belief sinks into my heart, inshallah, and it allows Allah to, nurun ala nur. That's when it's going to happen. When you've done that level of tadabbur and you've taken your intellect and your understanding of the world to the level where you've pondered and pondered and pondered, inshallah, Allah will lead you to the truth. Inshallah, Allah will lead you to guidance. And that is the greatest gift. That closeness to Allah is the greatest gift that anyone can ever attain. Inshallah, I pray that Allah guides all of us to that place. I pray that inshallah Allah allows us this time for contemplation, this space for contemplation, where we're just thinking and we're sitting and thinking about his creations, and inshallah Allah give us the ultimate success. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'anil Hakim.